Hello and welcome to another little tabletop gameplay where I was doing some practice with a Terabox mirror match between a friend and myself. I'm on the right and my friend is on the left. We are playing some slightly different lists, but let's get into the game really quickly. My friend is starting first. He has Ditto in the active, as well as Fan Rotom and a Hoot Hoot off rip. So of course, this is great because Ditto can then use Transformer to restart to get any other Pokemon you want, and then Fan Rotom can also grab the 2 Hoot Hoots and the Noctowl, setting himself up for later turns. Now, we're speeding through the start of this really quickly, but don't worry, things get a bit slow because we realize that we don't really know how to play these decks. So this, like I said, this is our testing. So he uses Area 0 to grab, or puts down Area 0 to expand the bench and gets Terapagos, Water Mask Ogerpon, which is great for me because that means that my Area 0s are now Ultra Ball fodder. So my turn starts and I have a great starting hand. I have 3 Hoot Hoots off rip and then 2 Nest Balls. Now already, here I make a misplay already. This is why I say later on we get slow, and that's because there are so many different lines, so you need to know how to go about the efficient way to get them without wasting stuff and without making a misplay. Because in my head, I'm thinking I want to KO this Wellspring Ogerpon with Terapagos. So I need a Latias to get the Fan Rotom out of the active, and I need Terapagos. But of these 2 Nest Balls, I'm going to get the Latias and the Terapagos, which isn't necessary because remember, I also have a Ditto, so I could in theory use Fan Rotom for a Ditto, retreat into the Ditto, and then get a Terapagos. So that Terapagos on the bench could have been, let's say, a Teal Mask Ogerpon for draw power. But either way though, I shuffle, and then the last 2 cards in my hand, Ultra Ball Research. So I get a fresh 7 here off rip, and one of them, Sparkling Crystal, and there's that Grass Energy, which would have been great for a Teal Mask, and then a Water Energy, so I can still attach and use Unified Beatdown. So I attach the Sparkling Crystal as well as the Water Energy, and then I need 7 Pokemon on the bench to go for a knockout on the Wellspring Ogerpon. So I decide to bench down a Mew to get another 6, and then I still have Fan Rotom, so I can use that. And I grab, if I'm not mistaken, my 4th Hoot Hoot and 2 Noctowls to set me up for the following turn. So there's the 2 Noctowls and a Hoot Hoot. That'll get me 7 on the bench, and that will give me 210 for Unified Beatdown. Now, you'll see we discuss this later on, but the one, again, coming back to the misplay, by not putting down the Teal Mask Ogerpon, that also means that I'm kind of vulnerable now in that if this Terapagos gets knocked out, I lose my bench space, and I also lose any Noctowl access. But in my head, I'm like, I need to go for this knockout, because now he doesn't have any Noctowls on bench. That Mew he had in hand, but he didn't bench it down, which in hindsight is a bit of a misplay, because that means that he can't get a free retreat. So now he needs a Latias to get this Fan Rotom out of the active. But don't worry, this is the beauty of Terabox. At least you'll see now from my friend's side, he goes and he grabs everything. So like we said, things are going to slow down because we realize, okay, there is always a way for you to get a knockout and for you to come back. The only issue is you need so much, and how do you go about getting it? If I'm not mistaken, he does have a way to get a Terra Pokemon back in play, so you don't have to worry about, he has to like draw anything. He will have access to his Noctowls. I think, yeah, he has the Night Stretcher there, so Night Stretchers for the Wellspring Ogerpon purely just to activate Noctowls again, and he has a Crispin as well. So I think he's going to try and go for the same thing because Terapagos has 230 HP, which is kind of hard to reach. So I think he's also going to try and go for a Terapagos knockout on the counter side, which means that he does need 8 benched Pokemon. One other option is Lillie's Clefairy, because we both have so many benched Pokemon, that can get a relatively easy knockout. And I think he saw he did have a Crispin in hand, but again, because he has the Fan Rotom in the active and he didn't have the Mew beforehand, he can't just go Nest Ball Crispin for Lillie's Clefairy. Because if he did, then that would have been great. So that's why you see double Nest Ball for the Latias and then the Terapagos. Then the second Noctowl goes out. And yeah, coming back to that first one, I don't think he needed, I don't see why he didn't bench down the Mew, but either way, yeah. Then he grabs an Iono and a Sparkling Crystal for the Terapagos. So off of this Terapagos, or off of this Iono, he needs an Energy and a 8th benched Pokemon to do 240 to my Terapagos, which he does end up getting. He gets the Terapagos there, or the Teal Mask, as well as 2 Grass Energy. So there's a Teal Dance for an extra energy, and another for the actual attack. And then here is going to be a Unified Beatdown for 8 times City, which is 240 for a knockout. And this is when we realize, okay, how does this work? So you discard your bench down to 5 first and then you promote. Because I was saying it would really suck if you promote first and then discard down to 5 and you can't have a way to put down a Terra Pokemon back again. So, of course, my 5 Pokemon of choice, the 4 Noctiles and the Mew, because that has free retreat. And I think I had it in my hand already, but I draw a Pikachu. And I think this is where I'm talking about, you know, putting down the Terapagos off the nest ball instead of dittoing for it. But either way though, I draw for turn and I had a Pikachu. Trust me, this is a Pikachu. I just didn't have the actual EX one, but it's the Pikachu, the Terra one. So I now have expanded bench space. So now I can use my Noctiles. And again, only 2 cards in hand. This is where, again, like Terabox is so great. I think the other 2 cards in hand are, or sorry, 3 cards. It's like a Psychic Energy and some other stuff. Maybe like 1 other Noctile. But I grabbed Nest Ball for Pheasantipity and also another Ultra Ball. This is so I can chain the Noctiles together back to back to back, right? The first one, the Nest Ball gives me Pheasantipity, but I first decide to use the Ultra Ball on a Grass Energy and something else. I keep the Psychic in hand because I'm planning on going for a Lillie's Clefairy knockout. So I grab the next Noctile. I only have 2 cards in hand. This is so I can go for Mew for 1 and then still Fez for 3 more. And it ends up working out because I Mew for 1 and I grab another Noctile. So I think I have like 2 Noctiles in hand or something like that. And I Fez for 3 and I get Crispin as well, which is great. So I can now go for 1 Noctile. And then that should get me the Nest Ball for Lillie's Clefairy. And then I have the Crispin in hand. So you can see I'm lining up the Nest Ball there already on the right. And then I'm just double checking because like I only need the Nest Ball, but I'm thinking what else can I get for, you know, the future turn? Because I do have another Noctile in hand. I think I have another Ultra Ball as well. So don't worry about the blur. It's just me covering up my friend's phone. Bravery Charm. Oh, Bravery Charm because of the Clefairy. Yeah. That is the one difference in our decks. I play a Bravery Charm, whereas he plays a Super Rod. And then I play 2 Area Zeros and 5 Energy, where he plays 4 Grass Energy, that is, and 3 Area Zero. Arguably, I understand the Super Rod is nice because it lets you recycle stuff with the Pikachu, but for me, if your Pikachu is getting knocked out, you need so much because the Super Rod gets you back to Pikachu, but you also need like all the energy and whatnot. So yeah, Clefairy in the active with 240 HP, so it's a little bit harder to knock out. You know, you can't really just Terapagos. You need the full bench Terapagos or whatnot, or a BloodMoon Ursaluna. It also means that Teal Mask Ogerpon can't really knock it out. So here's the funny thing now. He has 1 bench slot left, and I think he wants to go for a Lillie Clefairy knockout as well. Well, you'll see after this, but after he Ionos, he grabs he draws BloodMoon Ursaluna, Energy Switch, Boss's Orders, and Lillie's Clefairy. Now, ideal scenario is he plays down Lillie's Clefairy, Energy Switches onto it, gets another Psychic Energy, and then he goes for knockout. But he doesn't have that guaranteed. So instead, he goes E-switches onto the BloodMoon Ursaluna, because that has a guaranteed knockout. Muse for 1 extra card, and then there is the Psychic Energy, which would have been great, because that means he could have used that for a knockout. But of course, you can't really tell beforehand. Hindsight is 20/20, so if he did try that and it wasn't that Psychic Energy, he had no attack right now, so I think it was better to then just go for the BloodMoon Ursaluna, which is just enough to get a knockout, 240. And you'll see I do this, a sort of similar misplay now as well, where after the Iona, I should only have 2 cards in hand. I draw a 3rd one here. And I have a Grass Energy and a Fan Rotom and a Wellspring Ogerpon. So in my mind, I'm like, I could try and go for a Topaz Bolt knockout here, because I have the Grass Energy. I need like a Crispin, a Teal Mask Ogerpon, and then an Energy Switch, right? But I don't have any of that. So I decided to thin my hand out, and I bench down 2 Pokemon, and I Mew. And I draw a Crispin and a Professor Turoscenario, and I think, oh, I've got game. I attach a Grass Energy from hand, and I get the other 2 from the Crispin, and then my friend says, how are you attaching both of those? And I realize, oh wait, I can only attach 1. Well, on the bright side, Pikachu can like tank out a hit, and because it's BloodMoon Ursaluna, it cannot attack again, so I can attach 1 energy, and then I phase for 3, and then I laugh and I show him Ultra Ball, Energy Switch could have got me the Teal Mask and the, you know, the switch over. But of course, that's only after I Crispin and everything, so we were joking and saying, you always get the cards you need 1 turn too late. So instead, I feel confident that, you know, Pikachu can survive a hit. You'd have to have like a Turo plus another energy, plus then a way to gust out Pikachu, which is impossible. So I feel safe, right? But my friend decides he might try and go for game here, but he also makes a bit of a misplay. So he's thinking about it, and he sees a possible line where he can go for a torrential pump. At least that's what he's thinking. So you'll see he goes energy, or a psychic energy, onto the Wellspring Ogerpon, and then he uses boss's orders on the Noctowl. And now I think he's checking if I have the Turo, which I do say yes, I do have a Turo available to me in the deck. It's in my hand, really. But then he has a Noctowl. Oh, he has Ultra Ball for Noctowl. And while he's checking, I think this is where he realizes, oh no, that is a psychic energy on the Teal Mask Ogerpon. What he was trying to go for was Noctowl for 2 energy switches, which are in the deck, but then it's a psychic and 2 grass energy, which is not what you need for torrential pump. You need a water energy. I know, technically speaking, an alternative option was, oh, you could Crispin. That's what I was saying. You could Crispin for the water energy plus the grass energy, and then you just E-switch as well. But of course, he had to use the boss. So that is not a possible option. So at the end of the day, he'll just end up sub-blocking the Noctowl, which technically speaking isn't correct, but I have the energy and I have Turo Scenario. Obviously, if I didn't have Turo Scenario, you would have sub-blocked the Pheasantipity instead, so that on the following turn, you can retreat back and then BloodMoon Ursaluna to get 2 prizes instead of just the 1. This was a very interesting Terabox match. I really liked it because we both had like a full wide bench of Noctowls that we were using constantly, and like we had so many different attackers. We used Clefairy, we used Terapagos, we used BloodMoon Ursaluna, we used Pikachu, we used all of the different attackers. We tried to get in a Wellspring Ogerpon as well. That is just one of the nice things about Terabox, right? It has so many different options, it has so many different ways for you to attack, but the big thing is you have to know those lines and you have to make sure that you don't misplay, right? Like how we kind of did at certain points. Because it's easy to get confused between the different various options that you can do, and then you make one mistake and then that throws off your entire game. We do have some other matches that we recorded, so I'll be uploading those as well later on. So you can check out those videos as well if you want to see either a Terapagos versus Goldengo matchup or Terapagos versus the Dragapult matchup. But hopefully you enjoyed though. I'm going to try and see if I can get more of these tabletop POV gameplays done. So if you did like this POV, please do let me know by liking, commenting, and subscribing, of course. But until next time though, bye bye.